Welcome to Tales, Tunes, and Tomfoolery starring Jerry Springer, along with Gene Galvin and me. I'm Megan Hills. We're recorded live in front of a brilliant studio audience at the Folk School Coffee Parlor in Ludlow, Kentucky.
My daddy came home.
Here he is, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Jerry Springer.
Oh, hey. Oh.
And I have to say,
Yes.
a very dapper-looking Mr. Springer.
Well, I'm really ticked off.
Someone got a new hairdo.
Well, what I'm ticked off about is, for some reason, the camera's not working today.
Yeah, our
What do you
Facebook
call
feed
it?
isn't working.
The
Facebook
Facebook
Live.
feed. So people can't see us today.
It's a shame.
So I got this hairdo for nothing?
And it is silky.
It's
it is
unbelievable. What do you
is-
mean? So
It's just gorgeous. I love
it
it.
is. And this is the first time I've ever had a mohawk, so
It's
I'm thinking
He
people
doesn't
can't
even
see.
know.
They don't know.
They don't know.
It looks unbelievable.
Yeah, you also a little pissed off driving over here. You're telling me you're all pissed off because of
this is-
airplane envy, I guess you
Oh,
would call
that's
it.
right.
Airplane envy. You want
Now,
to
this is
explain
called
that?
first world problems, for sure. Airplane
Okay,
envy.
so I'm taking off this afternoon after finishing our show in Connecticut. We fly out of White Plains, and so my plane is parked there, and literally right next to my plane, a picture you can't see because it's Hillary's.
Yeah.
you know.
Really?
It says
Yeah.
stronger on the side and everything.
Quarantined, or did they have tape
No.
across the doors?
Yeah,
Hazmat suits
the
running
door.
around it.
Hey, the door was open.
Really? Did you go on?
I should have.
Go
Here's
use
what
the,
gets
use the
me
restroom or
upset.
something?
Her plane's big.
Her plane's bigger.
How did I know that was
Now
going to be
I
your
know
issue?
how the little people feel.
Yeah. All of us would have come in our cars to get
her
here.
plane is huge. I think her plane's bigger than Trump's. Get yourself a bigger plane, Donnie. Don't worry about your hands. Your
plane's too small.
You know what they say, big plane. All right.
All right.
I'm not doing very well either because I got a
what
hard
happened,
smackdown on the
What'd you get?
unlimited mileage.
Oh, they got.
Well, you think
What's
it's
the
funny,
latest?
don't you,
He's
Megan?
still doing this?
You think
got
it's
a
funny.
smackdown?
You're
What
not
happened?
supportive on this
Not at all. I think
Not
it's
at all.
ridiculous. It's absolutely
I think it's
absurd.
stupid. Yeah.
Someone else heard about the idea and
I
said it
love
was
how
stupid?
honest. You guys know it's just a dumb
dumb.
idea. Okay, so I made contact with the Guinness Book of Record.
Oh, no.
And
And they got back to me pretty quickly, by the way.
did they? That's
They didn't waste
weird.
any time. And
with
they
a-
said,
with?
because I said I wanted to, let's make sure people know, may not have listened before, but I aim, as I say, I fin to set the record. I plan to set the record for the number of miles you can put on a rental car when you get one of those 1 week unlimited mileage contracts.
Right. Unlimited
Because
mileage.
unlimited
and you want to set the
mileage.
record for the most miles.
Most miles. Get two other drivers with me, and we virtually drive nonstop 7 days around America.
But
Yes.
once again,
One
you
guy
could
said-
have just been in the parking lot because no one's ever done this before. So if you had gone half a mile, you would have set the
Yeah,
world's
but
record.
you want to set a record that is going to be very difficult to break. 'Cause
Oh,
you know,
because
three
everyone's
college-
going to be trying to
Oh, yeah.
break
Right.
it.
This is
Every
2017.
fraternity
Watch
in
out,
America is
'cause
going to be like, we can beat that.
Pokemon
Oh, yeah.
Go is going to go to the side here. It's
Right.
going to be Gene Calvin's.
So
mileage
I
challenge.
said to them, and I laid it out, in detail. This is why it's important. This is what I tend to do. And they wrote back and said, no, we're just not interested.
Get a hobby,
So
sir?
I got smacked down.
That's
And they
odd.
did say that there is a record for the number of land miles just driving and driving and driving, but that's different from what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't want to read the email.
What
but
do you
it had a
mean?
lot
A
of-
record for a
just
number
driving and driving and
of what? A
driving
rental
and
car or just a
driving.
car?
Not a rental car. I was so irritated and jealous. I didn't even look up in full detail.
So
what it's about.
basically, it's a smackdown.
It was a smackdown.
Total and utter
And, and the
rejection.
email had words in it like insignificant,
Ridiculous.
small, ridiculous, deplorable. I thought, well, that's the word of the
yeah,
week.
the word of the
Deplorable was in there.
Yeah, maybe
So
Hillary was
I
talking
don't
about
wanna,
you.
say the big old F you to them, but screw you, Guinness Book. And I'm Irish,
Yeah.
too. That annoys the hell out of me. And I used to drink their beer.
No more.
And I don't know.
No more.
No.
I probably will.
Probably
I
tonight.
probably will.
Why don't you come on over?
Knowing me, I think I probably will.
Hey, why don't you just come on over and try some Manischewitz? Come to our people.
Havanagila,
Come,
yeah.
come to our people.
Well-
we have a record book,
Yeah, I bet
but you got it reads from right to left.
Yeah.
On the way over here, I was learning
as you
about-
do in Hebrew, right?
Yes.
Because most
Yeah.
people wouldn't know
Right.
that.
Yeah, which is
So I either think you should start a book of record, Jerry, the Springer Book of Record, or there are two competing record books. One is the Ultimate Book of World Records. I'm going to make contact with them, and the World Record Academy.
Haven't
I like
you gotten
that
the
one.
hint?
Oh no! Oh, Jerry.
He's so
the
used to
first
being
time
kicked
someone
down.
said, "Let's climb Mount Everest," or "Let's
And someone
fly
said no.
around," do a. The John Glenn thing, people said no to that. No, I'm going to stop.
Yeah.
So,
And you see this on the same level as that, don't you?
yeah.
It's John Glenn. Okay. Just
You know
I just
what
like
I'd
to
love
see
to
where your
do?
head is.
I would
do.
love to know if
All right.
there is a list that Guinness has compiled of all these fakakta ideas.
Rejected.
that
Guinness
come-
Book
that
of
they
World
reject.
Rejections.
See what
That's a
other
good
ones.
bit. That's a
what
good
other
bit.
ones they have rejected, and see
Well-
how you fit into that.
Well, let's
and
just
how
put
that
it in.
makes you
Put it
feel.
in perspective. What
Yeah.
they did put in. Did you guys see on the Today Show last week? Every day they had a Guinness Book of record holder on.
Oh.
And one guy, the record was how many balloons can you break with your teeth, inflated balloons, in 20 seconds?
I saw that on the interwebs. Yeah.
Yeah, on the interwebs.
On the
so
interwebs,
that
yeah.
I mean, and the Academy of World Records has the largest. I think it's like 2,000 pounds. The heaviest bicycle ever made. He made a bicycle out of earth-moving wheels and all that stuff. So yeah, this is important stuff. That
All right. Like I said,
So anyway.
I just like to see where you feel you fit in. And
I think John Glennon was a good example.
okay, well,
Quick question to you:
Yes.
when you vacation, haven't you vacationed at? Is it Cabo St. Lucas or something?
Yeah.
That's a pretty cool place, isn't it? I mean, I've never been there, never been invited
Yeah.
to go with anybody there, but
Yeah. Well, yeah.
You are so
That may
subtle.
not change.
yeah. And it's really
It's beautiful.
rich place. Would you say? I mean, it's
I'll tell you this: they don't even put the name of the. We only were there once, but they don't even put the name of the place. In other words, if you don't know where it is, you
Yeah,
can't
you don't-
find it.
That's
you
how you
can't
know
just
it's
drive
really
down the
good.
road. Yeah, they literally don't have the name of the place, and when you walk in, it is unbelievable.
that's cool. I mean, we do. I know I do. And
Where
I
do you
know our
vacation,
listeners.
Jane?
Well, I was at a place called last summer, San Felipe. Cabo St. Lucas is at the end of the Baja Peninsula. And
That's
San
right.
Felipe is about halfway down the peninsula on the Pacific side.
Yeah.
And it is very normal. It's very normal Mexican beach town. And Megan, it's a place. It's just
Yeah.
a cool place to go.
Yeah.
yeah, vacation spot, family
Great
vacation
spot.
spot.
Yeah, regular people. And I was down there, and
Not Springer people.
no, exactly. I came out of a bar, and it was kind of, and man, where's my watch? I left my watch back at the hotel, actually a motel, Megan. I mean, I don't stay in hotels. And what time is it? And there was a guy under a tree. He looked like he had just gotten off work, probably worked all day, had what are you pulling on his sleeve for?
I just realized
He
what's
had
happening here.
he had a donkey with him. He just
he had
worked all day. And he was
Where is this?
it's
going?
relaxing under a tree.
Yeah.
Now, Megan, I don't mean to offend you with this, but I went over to the guy and I said, I speak Spanish, and I say, "A qué hora es?" "¿Qué hora es?" And he said in Spanish, 4:30. But when he answered that, he reached over with his hand, and again, I don't mean to offend you, but he took the donkey's testicles in his hand, held them in his hand when he said the time. And I thought, that's the craziest thing.
Yeah.
And I said to him in Spanish, how'd you do that? And he said, well, I just had to lift up the nuts of the donkey so I could see the church over there under. Where's that? It said 4:30 on the church.
Oh, the church clock. It is
I really
so-
wish.
And you looked that up.
And you did.
Yeah, look.
But not only did you look it up, you then decided
This
that's
is
the
a
one
good
I'm bringing
idea.
into the
So
show.
for those who may not listen all the time, that was a
Got
joke.
a couple of others. Hey, Hillary's illness, Jerry.
Oh, yeah.
that's it.
Talk about that.
Well, the first thing, obviously, and by the time people listen to this, it may be the issue may be over. So we're doing this on the 13th of September as we're recording this. You know, right now the prognosis is that she has pneumonia, and hopefully it's not long term. Maybe out for a few days. Maybe the antibiotics will help. The medicine will help, and it obviously 2 months before the election has political consequences. I would say primarily because the other side is making a major issue of this. Now, obviously, if it turns out to be a serious, God forbid, serious illness, then it is a major issue. What gets me is how quickly, I mean, Hillary Clinton is held to a different standard than any other politician in America. Flat out. All this, you know, people are getting upset because on Friday, the doctor determined that she had pneumonia, and she didn't tell people until Sunday or early Monday. Oh, my word. How horrible is that? Who among us, regardless, let's say you have a job and you take your job seriously, hasn't every one of us at some point not been feeling well, been sick, say, well, give me some medicine, I got to go to work? She's running for president of the United States. There's hardly a human being who works any harder than she does for her whole life, every day of her life. I've never, ever seen a candidate work as many events day in and day out. She did it when she wasn't a candidate, when she was Secretary of State, traveled more places. I mean, she is a workaholic. That sometimes is the criticism of her. You know, and now it's, oh, she's a woman and she doesn't look well. And, you know, she's sick. She can't handle the man's job of being president of the United States. All these implications. I'm telling you, it's sexist. Transparency, there's no one as transparent as she is, I would argue. For the last 40 years, she has been the most studied, the most investigated, the most covered human being on the planet Earth. She has every single year, we've seen her tax records. She has been with more investigations, more press coverage, more networks developed simply to beat up on Clintons. You know, and medical reports coming out on her. And what do we hold her to that standard as another way to, oh, that Hillary, she's just some old weak lady who doesn't have stamina. Stamina? Trump, who sits in his plush offices, and his idea of campaigning is, frankly, to get on the phone and call into various talk shows and do an interview while sitting, I promise you, in a very nice office or room. You're comparing stamina? He can't hold a candle to her. And yet we just beat up on her. It's relentless. Everything she does. Aha! She's dishonest. She didn't tell us right away that she has pneumonia. No, she's running for president and she's trying to work as hard and not come up with an excuse why she can't campaign. You know very well there probably was a fight among her people. She wanted to go out to California. And finally, they stood her up and said, you are not going to California. You're going to bed. You're going to take this medicine. You're going to rest for 3 or 4 days. We know that's what happened. And yet, anything we can do to destroy this woman, you know, whose greatest sin is that she's devoted her entire life to public service, to helping others. That is true. She is not an egomaniac. She really works it all the time. And, you know, comparing her to Trump on this issue of stamina is ridiculous. Secondly, when I said they hold a woman to a different standard than a man, let's look just at the presidents in my lifetime who have covered up, seriously covered up. I'm not talking about a cough they can't get rid of and walking pneumonia, which it could take a week or two. FDR, Well, we all know. And I'm not just talking about the polio. I'm talking about the congestive heart disease he had, even running in the 4th term, where frankly and I'm glad he ran, and I'm glad he won, but he had no business running for president in his physical condition. It was clear that he was going to die and not be able to fill out his term. But that was kept quiet. Then Eisenhower with the heart attacks. No one was saying he has no stamina. He gets reelected after the heart attack. And after having to make decisions from either the bed, the hospital bed, or whatever. And after Eisenhower, we had the election of 1960. You might remember Richard Nixon made a promise to campaign in all 50 states, which was crazy. And his handlers got ticked off at him because, when you're running a campaign, you don't have time to do all 50 states. You got to run where the votes are. It's a political process. But he wanted to go to all 50 states. And the result was that for 2 weeks, he was on his back because he had, phlebitis and a knee injury. And so he was ill. And then Jack Kennedy had Addison's disease and serious back problems. That's kept quiet. And no one's saying that John Kennedy wasn't this vigorous, people get upset with him because apparently in some areas he was too vigorous. And then, after Kennedy, Reagan, with, if not Alzheimer's, dementia, whatever, but in the 2nd term, clearly wasn't all there. And that's pretty well understood now. Decisions were being made for him, et cetera. So all this stuff that we give the men a pass on. Every day in politics, we give, it's just not an issue. But it's a woman, I don't know, she may not be up for it. And it's not that a lot of people are trying to be mean. Well, some are. But it's part of the culture. We honestly believe it's a woman. She stumbled. She doesn't look well today. She seems to have more wrinkles today. Did you see her hair? She just looks all rumpled. She's tired. I mean, all this sexist stuff. And of course, you're running against Trump, who is the antithesis. I mean, he is the poster child for the 1950s sexism that existed in our society. So that's what I think of this whole Hillary Clinton health thing. Obviously, we all pray there's nothing really badly wrong. But I'm saying at this moment, when we don't know that there's anything serious, we are concluding without any evidence that this woman doesn't have the stamina to be president. That says more about us than it does about her.
Yeah.
You know what, in all honesty, too, the thing that really drove me nuts about it was that this was the 9/11 memorial that she was there. She was sick for. Can you imagine? I had heard a couple commentators say she should have taken off. She should have taken care of herself. Can you imagine? Can you imagine the backlash if Hillary Clinton
Didn't show up.
You
are so right.
Or walked out in the middle of it.
Right, or walked out in the middle of it. Like she's presidential candidate. She has to do these things.
She's slugging it out.
Absolutely.
God bless her.
God love her. Exactly.
Hey, we were talking last week at the post-show dinner, and roast came up. Not because we were
True
eating
meeting of the minds.
roast. We go to a chili parlor in Cincinnati regularly. But at any rate, we were talking about roasting people.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And you told us something that we didn't know, that Megan and I didn't know, that you were roasted once by some pretty significant people that I would call legacy comedians.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And then you were involved, you've been involved in a few of them. But tell our audience who roasted you on a night in what, 1980 something?
No, it was I already had my show. It was in the 90s, and it was in L.A., maybe Beverly Hills, but I mean, out there in that community, and it was the Friars Club.
Okay.
And they were roasting me because the show had hit it big, and it was crazy and all that. But the neatest thing, particularly for someone like me who grew up in the Catskills, I mean, grew up in New York, and we spent our summers in the Catskills, where all these great comedians at the time, and most of them were Jewish comedians. So the people who roasted me were Milton Berle, Sid Caesar.
Isn't that amazing?
I mean, it was just I mean, these were all my idols. You know, Henny Youngman. These are the people whose jokes I steal. Oh, I don't steal. I borrow.
And they asked for
And
them
if they
back.
were still around, I would give them it back. They're not around anymore, but otherwise I would give it back. And actually, Bill Maher was the MC.
Wow.
That is so cool.
So that really was. I had
Yeah.
forgotten
really neat.
totally about it until we had that conversation. So that was really cool.
And then you wrote.
such
you,
nice people. I
Did
mean,
you roast the Hoff at
Yeah.
some point?
The Hoff.
yeah, on Comedy Central, you know, they run the, and I am telling you, you know, because of my show, you would think that I've heard a few bad words in my life. It was the filthiest. I was thoroughly, I mean, I couldn't,
Could
you
tell
know,
if
'cause-
you were impressed or embarrassed. Huh?
yeah, I mean, because you guys know me. I mean, no one believes it, but I really don't go around cursing.
No, not at all.
No, you don't.
So, and this was unbelievable. And we had to roast the Hoff, David Hasselhoff. And, you know, yeah, which isn't that difficult. But, well, I think I was asked because at the time I was host of America's Got Talent, and he was one of the judges. So we got to know each other. And, you know, he's been nothing but nice to me, so I don't have any bad things to say about him. Anyway, we're roasting. But on those roasts, you don't just roast the person you're supposed to roast. You also roast the other roasters. Mm-hmm. And so everyone's going back and forth. And it was filthy. And the closest I came to anything which was inappropriate that you wouldn't want your kid to hear, well, Pamela Anderson was there. She was one of the roasters. And everyone was making fun of, you know, Hasselhoff, the TV shows he's been in, and, you know, not the world's greatest actor, and, you know, in movies, and, you know, most of them not very good, to be honest. And so I just said, David, the best thing you've ever been in is Pamela Anderson.
Who?
And nah.
That, Gene, see that? A joke.
That's a joke.
That's a joke.
That's the
Probably
closest.
original, too.
Yeah.
Good one.
So that's the closest I ever got to. But I'm telling you, it was unbelievable. And, you know, and then you realize it's cable. They can say anything. But, you know, the F word was the cleanest thing
Oh, I believe that.
that was said.
Well, that was it. Just the roast that we were just talking about last week over dinner. I think that's what we brought it up. Was the Rob Lowe one that turned into the roast of Ann Coulter? That
Oh, yeah. That's right. That's
a
what.
good-
That's what
that was a
got
good
us
night.
thinking.
Well, that's what usually happens up in these Comedy Central roasts. They set it up that you're roasting this person,
yeah.
but everyone kind of, there's always someone on that stage that you really want to get.
They
Yeah.
put in
Yeah.
there on purpose, probably.
Yeah, because they know.
Yeah.
So they knew.
They knew.
Yeah.
You know, it's Hollywood. How much are they going to like Ann Coulter?
It's true. It's true.
Hey, we're going to ask you in a second to talk about the national anthem protests, which are growing. And I also want to preview that we have this great band, very significant band from Ireland, Socks in the Frying Pan, and they're in the region performing, and we were able to kind of pull them over here to have them do a set with us. But I did want to, before Jerry, I asked you to talk about that national anthem thing. Let me mention something real fast. There is a protest, that's a protest, and then there is another protest in Cannonball, North Dakota. And I think that we should add to the growing conversation about it, just to get the people to know about it. And I'm just going to tell you about it and then ask the people go online. And it's called, and all you have to do is Google Cannonball, North Dakota, and it will pop up. But there is a camp that's popped up, a rogue camp called Sacred Stone Camp, and a second one not far from it called the Red Warrior Camp. And this is a very unusual thing. And you know this, Jerry, back in, this is a long time ago, 1966, I was in Vista,
Right.
Volunteers in Service
Yep.
to America. And it had formed the year before in the shadow of the Peace Corps.
Yep.
And it was a domestic Peace Corps. Peace Corps was a 2-year obligation. This was 1 year. And in Vista, you could go to the Hollers of Appalachia, Hispanic barrio, or to a Native American reservation. So I selected that, and I spent my time at an Ojibwe reservation in northern Minnesota not far from the Standing Rock Sioux Reservation, which is where all of this is happening. And I know from the studying of Native American cultures, they didn't typically team up with each other. If you came here before the Europeans came here, tribes existed all over the country, and they all just kind of did their thing, and they frankly kept people off each other's land, and they were very separate. This has brought 250 tribes together. This is reminiscent of Wounded Knee, a protest that happened back in the 70s that unfortunately turned violent and people died. At the Standing Rock Reservation, and here's just the point I want to make. 1 mile from the reservation is former reservation land, now federal land. And this needs to be said. We have screwed Native Americans through just bullshit treaties over the years and shrunk the property that they're on.
Right.
So where this is happening, there is sacred grounds, burial grounds, artifacts, and the water is threatened because a pipeline where they're digging for crude oil in North Dakota, and then they're moving that crude oil to Illinois across 4 states, and then it'll go into other systems to take it to the Gulf Coast where it will be processed, refined, and sold. But this is the rub. This is unfreaking believable. Bismarck, North Dakota, the only sizable town in North Dakota, it's a very sparsely populated state, has 1 congressman, by the way.
Yep.
The people of Bismarck, when they were going to bring this on a more direct route near Bismarck, threw a fit. You'll contaminate our water source. And they cranked up all their political power in the 1 major city, and they got it moved. And guess where they moved? To Indian land. And they're going to run it under the Missouri River and threaten the aquifer in the process of doing that. So the Native Americans said, our water is our life. Get it out of here. Take it back to Bismarck. Put it in somebody else's backyard. But this is what we do. We always find the poorest people to do the things we don't want done, whether it's storing contaminated waste or whether it's running a pipeline. So these 250 tribes have shown up, and they are in these 2 encampments. And they, just last Friday, lost a federal court hearing to stop the project. They lost that. Credit Barack Obama and the Justice Department for saying, stop. We're going to stop this thing, and we're going to retalk this. The Army Corps of Engineers are going to come back in and restudy it. They're going to listen to the cries of these now 250 tribes who are joined in solidarity. And this just needs to be known about, and people can easily Google the Sacred Stone Camp.
That's a great story.
I came pretty close to leaving on Thursday to go out there, and then for various reasons decided not to. But I think before this is over, because they are now gathering food and clothing for the winter. They are not going anywhere. And this fight goes on, and so who knows, maybe we'll go out there and talk to people.
Yeah. That's good.
O'Donnell, who has a show on MSNBC. I want to say Danny O'Donnell, but it's not. He has been out there as the one kind of prominent journalist who is out getting the story told. More and more journalists are going. Yeah. And so, anyway, just wanted to touch on that.
Good.
Hey, Jerry, talk about the protest of the national anthem that seems to be growing among professional athletes.
Yeah, last week we talked a little bit about it because it just hit. That's when the quarterback of the San Francisco 49ers, Colin Kaepernick, he refused to stand. We know the story now. He refused to stand during the national anthem because he wanted to make a statement in favor of racial justice, and he thought that he wasn't being sincere in singing the national anthem because we aren't one nation in terms of he thinks there is racial injustice in this country, and there is a separate standard for white people and those who aren't. And that's his feeling. And obviously there's a whole bunch of evidence, but that he feels very strongly about it. And so that was his protest. And of course there's an outcry because how can you not stand when they're playing the national anthem? Isn't that something we can all get together on? And I had said at the time, which I believe, when the national anthem plays, I stand up. That's my view. But I totally get why someone else will choose not to stand up and has every right to. And here's what happened this week. And now, by the way, a whole bunch of teams are starting to join, a whole bunch of athletes. And isn't it interesting how much of the social justice campaign in the last 50 years, whatever the cause is, if it relates to social justice, oftentimes it's an athlete that leads the, obviously Jackie Robinson and obviously Muhammad Ali, but also with gay rights and stuff like that. Some athlete will suddenly say, I'm gay and I'm playing football, and all of a sudden there's more attention given to that. And the reason is, in our culture, the two most prominent platforms are sports and entertainment. So you can write all the position papers you want and write all the letters to the editor you want and all the blogs you want. It's when an athlete or an entertainer says something that it gets the attention. And that's reality. And so now all of a sudden, we're talking more in pretty strong ways about racial injustice in this country. Now, the other day, and those of us who have lived for many years in the Cincinnati area, at least one of my friends, and certainly one of my athletic heroes, is Boomer Esiason. I loved him. I mean, I've met him on many occasions, and he's a great guy. He's also a great human being. I mean, the
Quarterback
money
for the Cincinnati
quarterback
Bengals.
for the Cincinnati Bengals.
Former.
Back, yes, during the Super Bowl year when they went against the 49ers, I think in 1989, and we lost. But anyway, but when I say he's also a great human being, is he has raised, I think, over $100 million for cystic fibrosis to help find a cure for that. His son has that, and but he's devoted his life to that. So he's a good person. But I heard him on some interview, just part of the interview, so I maybe didn't get the whole thing. But he was taking the position that if you're in the NFL, that should not be the platform to raise political issues. That, yeah, if you've got a beef, there are other ways to do it, but when it's Sunday and there's an NFL game, respect the game, respect the flag, and don't bring your politics out on the field. And the point he was making is he didn't go out on the field, try to raise money while he's out there, with a sign or something on his helmet, cystic fibrosis. And so I thought about that. I think I wasn't driving the car. I was sitting in the back of the limo. But I remember hearing that. No, I was listening to that. And then I get it. And so I disagree with him on this. The issue of racial injustice, the American flag and the national anthem, that is exactly where the protest belongs. In other words, if you want to talk about raising money for some charity or something, that has no relevance to the flag. People in all countries get diseases, and different kind of things. So it has no relevance. But the American flag and the national anthem specifically are about the idea America of equal justice and opportunity for all, equal protection of the law. That is exactly what the idea America is. So that is exactly where you would make that protest. It had total relevance to the national anthem. So that is appropriate. And I know there are a lot of people, because as I said, someone like me would stand for the national anthem and will continue to do that. But they're bent out of shape that someone wouldn't do that. And then you hear, my son died in a war defending America. And my response would be, yes, defending America, not a piece of cloth, not a song, not a tune, defending the idea America. And racial justice, equality under the law, equal opportunity, that is the idea America. That's what you honor. And if we're not living up to that, then let's get people's attention so we can do a better job of living up to it. And if it means not respecting a particular song or a particular piece of cloth, nobody dies for a piece of cloth. You die for what it stands for. And if we're not measuring up, because, you know, we are a working being. You know, America is never finished. It's a constant journey. Always trying to better ourselves. Always trying to become fairer. And that's why the pendulum always swings towards more justice. Justice for African Americans, and then we had justice for women, and then we had equal justice for gays. I mean, it's always moving in that direction. So we're trying to get better. But the protest, and isn't it interesting how it starts with just some, not with a riot, not with blowing up anything, just one human being. I think it was Bobby Kennedy who said each time a man stands up for an ideal, he sends out a little ripple of hope. I'm probably, you know, destroying that saying, but you get the idea. One human being can make a difference. So a guy just, nothing big, he just doesn't stand up during a song, and the whole country is now talking about it. You know, they're doing that in high schools. Before high school games on Friday night, some of the kids from these high schools aren't standing. And the kids, by the way, are protected by the Constitution. You can't punish, a school is not permitted to punish a kid, a public school, to punish a kid for not standing during the national anthem. We had a legal case, I think, in 1948. They can't punish a kid for that. The NFL is a private organization, so it can tell its players, you stand or you'll be banished. Well, they're not going to do that because a major portion of NFL football are black people. Are African Americans, so they won't do that. Notice, Major League Baseball, there hasn't been one baseball player that has failed to stand for the national anthem. Why? African Americans only make up 8% of Major League Baseball. Times have changed. Remember when Jackie Robinson broke in, and then in the 1970s, more than 50% of the players were African American. Now it's down to 8%. So with baseball, you're not getting this protest. The NFL can't do anything about the protest with its players because it'll lose everybody if it starts, you know, punishing the players for speaking their mind. But that's the point. Yes, a lot of us are offended when someone doesn't stand for the national anthem or doesn't salute the flag, doesn't pledge allegiance to the flag. But instead of just getting angry because that's not our position or the way we'd protest, think about it. It is totally relevant to the issue to have someone protest in that case. And it took a lot of guts because these players are losing a ton of money.
Yeah. Kids, by the way, that's interesting. You should bring that up before we bring up Socks in the Frying Pan, this wonderful musical group from Ireland. And this is the stuff that I've taught at Xavier University as an adjunct professor, grad school of education, teaching teachers who will later become principals. The Tinker case was the first one, and then it was followed by the Hazelwood case. And the Tinker case gave kids the right to protest openly in school, and that taking of the knee, that it does protect them. Hazelwood case came after that, tighten it up a little bit, that if you can prove that that act of protest endangers kids, provokes fights, whatever, then
that's not protected.
That's like yelling fire in a crowded theater.
But if it's peaceful,
exactly, they're protected
in silence. You know,
and I didn't know that it makes sense. By the way, that this is growing among kids at high school football games. I don't know where this is going, by the way, but your point is right, Jerry. If we're talking about this, that's a good thing.
Right.
Yeah.
You're going to end up on either side of it.
Well, look what's going to happen now on Monday morning in high school classrooms. Can you imagine the high school football game and some of the kids don't stand? You know the kids are going to talk about it Monday in school.
Social
so now
studies class,
social studies, the teachers, they may have to have assemblies on it. We're going to start really dealing with this question.
Yep.
And someone last night, we were watching the Redskins football game.
Yep.
And one of my friends, he works at the show. And we're watching together, smoking a cigar. And he says, you think they should have changed the name of the Redskins? And I said, yeah, they should have. And he said, why? Not to be confrontational, but just why? And frankly, Gene, I give you the credit because you're the one that brought it up a whole bunch of years ago to get me to pay attention to it. If a group is insulted, they don't need me to say there's no reason for you to be insulted.
Exactly right.
If you hurt someone's feelings, you can't say, oh, you have no reason to be. They're hurting. And they, for I think good reason, the Redskin is a derogatory name to someone who is a Native American.
Look it up in the dictionary.
Yeah.
By the way, it's defined exactly the same. I've done this. I used it as an argument to try to get two schools to change the use of it in the Cincinnati area. One did and one didn't.
Yeah.
But when we put on a big placard and took it to school board meetings, the definition of the dreaded N-word,
Yeah.
it is a derogatory term applied to African-American people. Then you look up the R word, and it says a derogatory term.
Right.
Dedicated
Can you
to
imagine
Native
a
American.
local high school team being named the
ends? You know, we're not gonna say the
with
word.
throw N-word?
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, well, you know, we can't even I mean, it's just so absurd.
Right.
But we don't have many Native Americans living in this area. But if we did, that's how they feel. I wouldn't want to go back to New York and be rooting for the New York Kikes.
Same thing.
You know, it's like
Yeah.
unless
true.
they had a good quarterback.
Yeah. All right.
Why do I have to?
I mean,
I was so
you were
close.
so good. I
So close
swear to
to
God.
saying
Megan.
something poignant,
And
and I got
then-
a boom.
Go
Why
and
do you
s-
criticize me, Megan?
Springer
You
it all
criticize
up.
him. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Just springer it all
One
up there.
more thing, just before you guys start playing, because this is my wife and I. You know, I'm 72.
You are.
and we were intimate. I haven't been.
You're going
feeling
to talk
well
about
today.
that, about
No,
like
just
sex.
I'm
We
not
have
feel-
asked
I
you
haven't
not
been
to.
feeling well today. You know, maybe you know
Yeah.
some. Well, okay, so once in a while I use Viagra, and
What?
I'm 72. It's okay.
Why do we get? Why are we here?
Megan,
Like,
again,
I'm trying to
Megan, I
explain why I'm
apologize
all
to you
horse.
about the holding the testicles. I
Yeah.
apologize
no.
for this.
And
Go ahead.
and
I'm an
but
HR
last
manager.
night,
Yeah, I know. You're
I'm
it
an
was
HR
horrible
manager.
last night. It was horrible, and I want to personally apologize to her if she's listening, because all of a sudden I started choking on the pill. Honestly, I had a stiff neck for 4 hours.
And it's all of your faults for laughing. So he will keep doing this, and so will Gene.
I'll have another one next week. Tune in.
So I don't feel sorry for anyone now, because you're all laughing.
Socks in the frying pan. They're just joined up. I'm going to ask them to start with a song, but let me just tell you this much about them. They're from the west side of Ireland, County Clare, and they're performing around this region. They're going to be in, I think, Kansas shortly. Is that true?
This weekend coming in Kansas. Yeah.
Okay, and then back to Ireland again.
Back to
and
Ireland, yeah.
They're in the greater Cincinnati or the tri-state area, Ohio, Kentucky, Indiana. Start off with a song, and then we're going to chat with you if it's okay. Wow.
That was awesome.
Socks in the frying pan.
It's all downhill from there, folks.
So we have Aidan
I
Coyne.
remember the words.
We have Aidan Coyne, and we have Shane Hayes and Fikra Hayes, and you guys are from
We're from Ennis.
Ennis. By the way, I don't know if others have. I have been there. My family's from Dungarvan,
Okay.
County
Sorry
Waterford.
about that, yeah.
So, yeah.
We don't talk to those people.
So we beat you in soccer,
You'll
by
fit
the way.
right in
Our
here.
town beat you.
In soccer? Okay. You can have that one. You can have that one.
Yeah. But that is a really cool town. That is a beautiful little active kind of working Irish town, right?
Yeah.
Get some tourists, but it's the real deal.
It's huge for Irish music as well. It's kind of like the Nashville equivalent of Irish music. Our hometown.
And you guys got an award in Ireland, did you not, for an album that you did? Do I have that right? Tell us about
And we
that.
did. We won our first album we brought out won the Album of the Year award at home and over here as well, actually. So we paid off a lot of people for that. So,
Yeah.
That's really cool.
By the way, if you're listening live on our stream and you're in the greater Cincinnati area, after this, you guys are headed to Molly Malone's, which is a really great Irish bar in Cincinnati.
Great, right
Or
over
in
in
northern
Covington.
Kentucky, actually, Covington, Kentucky. Really good. How can people hear your music, by the way?
we're up on iTunes. We're on Spotify. You can buy the albums online, or you can come on the road and drive along with us. There's
Yeah,
long,
go. Right.
long drives. We could
When
use a
they're in
few
Ireland,
drivers.
could they come and stage your house?
Absolutely, yeah.
Stay at his house, no problem, yeah.
As long as they can cook and clean, they're more than welcome.
We'll post their address.
Hey, do a second song for us, would you?
Sure.
No problem.
Thank you.
This one's called the Googly Bond, and we wrote it ourselves. It's about a society in Ireland, agrarian society, fought for the rights of farmers during the plantation era, and they were all killed for singing protest songs. So this is called the Googly Bond.
Confined to the shovel in the stable, he'd mopped away half of his life with tackle and reins, buckle and chain, plodding his way through the night. The whip wasn't spared as a young lad, no more than it was for a mare. Saddle and grain, combing the mill, dreaming of stealing away in a place he'd call his own. Land on Kilcornan, planted but not sown, leave and leave alone. They called him the greyhound of rivals, a pleasant young hound he'd seemed to. No fighting or brewing, just grooming and shoeing, a stray living life how he knew. Songs that he'd heard in the distance were tunes of a faraway land, of sporting and fencing, courting and dancing, not privileged to a peasant man, in a place he'd call his own. Land on Kilcornan, planted but not sown, leave and leave alone. By cold or by fever, knew he had strength yet untold, but feelings of fear, laughter and sneers compelled him to stay where he's told. With courage against landlord and bailiff, he'd been learning the tricks of the trade. From amble and canter, gallop and slander, the taunting had sharpened his blade. Joined the Googly Bond. His pistol was ready, a knife sheathed steady, not peasant, not pauper, nor pawn. With fury and passion abated, clarity brought to the fore, leaving stable and stud, trotting through mud, a broken man whimper no more, in a place called his own. Land on Kilcorn, planted but not sown. Leave and leave, a place he called his own. Land on Kilcorn, planted but not sown. Leave and leave.
Socks in the frying pan. You guys are fantastic. Could you
very
take
much.
us out on Irene Goodnight? And if you'll let him, Jerry Springer is going to go all Irish on us. Watch
Okay.
it. Watch what he does.
No,
He does the second verse.
if we
I
let
see it
him.
coming.
Yeah,
If we
every
let
time
him.
people see me, they say, Jerry, oh, Springer.
All right, okay.
We apologize.
Hey, I'm trying, huh?
Hey,
You come up with an Irish joke.
Here we go. Good night, Irene.
You've been listening to Tales, Tunes, and Tomfoolery, recorded live at the Folk School Coffee Parlor in Ludlow, Kentucky. Thanks to Patrick Kennedy for writing our opening song, and to you for listening. Check out our website at jerryspringer.com.
Now me and my wife, we are parted. Down to stroll downtown. Irene, good night. Irene, good night. Good night, Irene. Good night, Irene. I'll see you in my dreams.
Jerry O. Springer.
Sometimes I live in the country, and sometimes I live in town. Sometimes I take a great notion to jump in that river and drown.
Irene, good night. Irene, good night. Good night, Irene. Good night, Irene. I'll see you in my dreams. Good night, Irene. Good night, Irene. I'll see you in my dreams.
Y'all come back now.